Hi there, and welcome to History of Fleetwood Mac Singles, Part 24. I'm Anita. Today we're going to wrap up our 45 7-inch single collection, starting with Lindsey Buckingham's 1992 Out of the Cradle singles, followed all the way through to Stevie's most recent release, The Lighthouse, which came out late last year, I want to say. So we're going to jump right in. Lindsey Buckingham's album, as I talked about a little bit earlier, one of my absolute favorite records, Out of the Cradle, released 4 singles, 3 of which were in the United States, 1 of which was in the UK, but only released 2 45 singles that I've ever been able to find. If there's any other ones, I haven't seen them listed on Discogs or that nobody else has them. But the first one that came out as a single was Wrong. And I believe that there is a cassette single. I'm confident there's a CD single. Wrong came out, the album came out 6/16/92, and the single also came out June of 1992. But the first record that came out, or 45, to my knowledge, it was tangible in any way, shape, or form, was the 45 for Countdown, which came out July in 1992 in the UK. And this is some artwork that's inside the album. The album's not released in the United States. It was released in Spain, I want to say, or UK. It's been a very, very, very difficult item to obtain. It was released possibly in, like I said, Spain and or the UK, but very, very expensive, $150 at best, at minimum. It was only until, again, late last year that Lindsey Buckingham released his box set, his anthology series, much like Stevie Nicks did. And so we were able to get Out of the Cradle on vinyl, and it was absolutely wonderful to hear that. So the first single from Lindsey, Countdown. The B-side to that is This Nearly Was Mine. Really nice, thick, made in the UK single for Lindsey. And the standard, again, made in the UK, Countdown with the small middle hole here. After that, we had Soul Drifter, that to my knowledge had been released in the USA, although I don't have a USA release, but I do have a USA released CD single. So this as well shows the UK, and this was released November of 1992, so about 5 months after the album had come out. Had this nice photo single, and this is from Germany. It says UK on the record, but on the back it says Germany. I want to say it says UK here as well, but I think this is a standard catalog number for it in Europe, whether it's Germany or the UK. I don't think there'd be any difference, and I do not believe that there are multiple copies with any different variation from Germany to the UK. Again, not that I have found. So those were pretty much it for Lindsey. They did, however, also release Don't Look Down in April of 1993. So not quite a year, about 10 months after the album, they did release another single again as well. I believe it was a CD single. But that was it for 45s for Lindsey in 1992. Following right up in 1992, in November 23rd, 1992 to be exact, was the 25 Years on Fleetwood Mac box set, which had been released on cassette and CD, yet to be re-released on vinyl, being that so many box sets that come out of Fleetwood Mac, and certainly by Rhino, it could be that we see this 25 years released as a vinyl box set. It would be nice. We kind of have all that already, but just the packaging and the fact that one disc was prior to Stevie and Lindsey, and then there was just a lot of added songs that were on there, which would be really nice, including one of the ones that I have here. Would be nice to have on vinyl, like a 12-inch as opposed to the 7-inch. But yeah, I'm not so sure that's going to happen. And because those 4 CDs were pretty well for packed CDs, I think that the vinyl box set, if they thought to do that, would definitely have to be probably about at least 6 LPs. I would say maybe 8. But yeah, so, but out of that, as I said, Paper Doll was a United States release, and it came out in a plain paper sleeve as a 45. It did hit, however, as a single in the United States and as a CD single in the United States. But for vinyl, it was a very simple, popular song. Had a little bit of a, that I recall anyway. Not sure what it did on the charts, but I remember it being pretty popular in the U.S. I remember being put on a lot of, when I get in my CDs, I have quite a few CDs where this was added as a single, like a various artists compilation where Paper Doll got added. So I think they really try to promote the box set with this single. Although Love Shines was another great single that came off the album, I just think they really tried to push forward with this little Stevie Nicks tune, which I think is a great little song. It's got a little country vibe to it, and just a real kind of in the middle ground of Stevie between 91's Time Space singles and what we would later talk about in 1994, which we'll get to soon enough. So this is, again, the single Paper Doll. It was released the same month as the box set was released, and it was B-sided with The Chain, which was just the standard version of The Chain from Rumors, not any live version or anything special, and not a promo, just pretty simple. Mine just was kind of cool because it came with the jukebox strip, which I actually remember a couple places I would go and it was on jukebox, so just kind of a neat have. So following up Paper Doll, Love Shines. I'm not sure which month this came out afterwards. I don't have a date for that one, but I imagine not too far after the box set came out. But this again did reach vinyl in the UK. Don't think there's a US release on 7-inch. Definitely a single, a CD single, and but I have not seen this song on many compilations. I believe I have one compilation of a USA, like the TV station, I want to say there's like USA Central or channel that used to be that put out this very peculiar CD. I can't wait to get into CDs because there's a lot of really strange things in there amongst my collection that you'll see later. But this one TV station put out a Fleetwood Mac compilation, and it's all Christine McVie songs. And this was years before her catalog got sold. And it's just really weird because it's not a tribute to Christine McVie. It's just all her songs. But I want to say that Love Shines did make that CD compilation. This one was the Love Shines, the album version with the Chain previously unreleased alternate mix. So this one did include the alternate mix. And it comes in at, let's see where we're at here. This one says it comes in at 4:20, 4 minutes and 20 seconds. I just lost that record I had. Let's see. This also says 4:20, but my mistake, it did say album version. So I want to say it's the, like I said, the Rumors version, but it's funny to me that this one says alternate, previously unreleased alternate mix. So I might have to give those two a spin back to back and see if there is any difference or if it is the same B-side, because it is unusual that they put the Chain regular from Rumors on the flip side of Paper Doll and then put a different version of the Chain on the flip side of Love Shines. Yeah, the cover of the box set, as I mentioned, and there's something, now this, when I talk about the artwork and such like this, such as this, sorry, I like the real simplicity of this. I love that it's John McVie, who's just kind of focused on with this little penguin tattoo and with his bass, and I'm really fond of this. I know it's just his arm, but it's funny how just a little piece of a photo can even represent so much that pertains to the whole band, and it carries the whole box set. Because even though he and Mick are the founding fathers of Fleetwood Mac, John McVie is as much the Mac as Mick Fleetwood is the Fleetwood. So, yeah, just with the font, coloring, and everything like that, I always really enjoyed this. So those were the two singles for 25 years of Fleetwood Mac. They did also do, oh, my mistake, sorry. So this one was the France. I want to say, yeah, this one says, this one was UK. And then this one is France. And again, small differences. You know I love them. Would just probably be the labels, just how they're set up. So this one's just a little bit longer across, where this one is stacked a little bit more. So UK and then France. Nothing different other than, yeah, just on the back. They did also release Don't Stop, which seemed to come out quite a bit later. Again, much like I'd mentioned with Lindsey's Don't Look Down, came out 10 months after his album. Because I remember being at a record store quite a bit later. I mean, if this came out November 23rd, the box set in 92, I want to say it was well into 93. That just out of nowhere, I started seeing this as both a single, a 45, and there are Japan versions, again on the CD singles, that vary a little bit on their cover. So I want to say this came out a little bit later. Might have been the lead up into 1993 with the resurgence of Bill Clinton using it, eventually coming to a point where he used it for his inauguration, but it was kind of being sung or talked about or quoted perhaps. So it could be that would be why this came out again as a single, and it would still be on the heels of the box set, so it's not a bad thing. And I'm sure it remade the charts as well. But again, there is no date as to what. It does say 1993 on the back, so obviously, you know, if the box set came out in 92, November, of course it would be 93 for this one, but I'm not sure when. And ironically, this was backed with Paper Doll. And being as Paper Doll was a B-side, one of the B-sides available, or new songs, I should say, on the box set, I thought it was kind of unusual to make that a B-side, because that was a single unto itself for the box set. So, but this was really nice, and I was very happy to find it. And, you know, again, kind of simple artwork. It kind of goes in tandem as far as just, even though it's kind of vague and it's not just because it's a hand connected to the arm, but I don't know, I just think it kind of matches the vibe of the album cover without being a picture sleeve of the band, I should say. So again, Don't Stop is the album version. I'm pretty sure it's straight up from Rumors. And then Paper Doll, it says album version because there's only that one to be had from the box set. So, and then additionally, there was a Don't Stop out of Spain, a promotional record like some of the other ones I had shown you from Behind the Mask. And this was Don't Stop, backed with Don't Stop from the box set. So again, I want to say this is all leading up to the usage of the song for Bill Clinton's inauguration in 93, which I have a lot of commentary about that when I get into the CDs and really my photo albums, because I have a lot of memorabilia from that. There's pins, there's flyers, there's a lot of stuff that mentions it, so I'll certainly talk in more detail at some point about that. Maybe even make it its own video, because those who are interested in political history might be interested, you know, fan or not, just how pop culture mixed with politics can and maybe shouldn't be all the time, but whatever. Um, it is kind of funny now because even though Clinton was, which I'll just bring up shortly right now with today's environment, being as Clinton did use it and with the full blessing of the band, it is funny how now people who are running for council, president, whatever, they'll just start picking up music and using it without the consent of the singers and writers of the songs. And it's just such a different time from 1993 where they were still using that music, but I don't think people were coming down on them quite as much as they had begun to do, starting in, like, say, late 90s, early 2000s. This was just a happy accident where he had begun, again, I think, quoting it, and then had permission from the band, and then ended up being his anthem. So anyway, so yeah, this was a promo out of Spain. Don't Stop. Back with Don't Stop, same thing. And I believe that each are the same runtime on both. I don't think that one's different than the other. Actually, there is no runtime, so that was that. So those are the ones from 25 years in Fleetwood Mac from the box set, the CD and cassette box set. So now we're going to get into the next thing that would be after this would be Stevie Nicks' Street Angel. So I, again, can't wait to get into Street Angel more in more detail with a lot of what I think is my insight, photos that I have. I can finally talk about the album per se in both my CD collection and being as it's on vinyl, first released in the box set that came out a couple years ago now, and then it got released on its own. We'll talk about whether that was a good idea or not. I'm glad that it was, so you don't always have to take the one out of your box set, but I think it should have been given a little bit more thought put into it. They released Trouble in Shangri-La and Street Angel after the box set, so if you didn't want to buy the whole box set, or you couldn't because it did sell out, and I have mine thanks to a very good friend who's out there and who really helped to make sure I had that, and I'll get into that when I tell that story at some point. But people who maybe weren't able to get the box set, it was nice that they could buy Trouble in Shangri-La and Street Angel on their own at some point. But I'll get into that when I'm at that point with the LPs. But for 45s, Street Angel was really just a big mess. It has its own story, and it probably ought to be. I think probably when I come to that video, it might even be a 2-part video. It's hard to say because there is just a lot to dissect in that, the information. And I don't know how wordsy and how, I haven't quite decided how I'm going to handle LPs. I really kind of started this to show you everything that I have because I have a large collection. I think it's neat. But, you know, a lot of people that this is reaching are people who know the basics. We know how they came into the band. We know how Buckingham nicks and everything. Although some people don't. But certain selections from Fleetwood Mac, Stevie on her own, Chris on her own, what have you, some really have really particular stories and deserve to be elaborated on. And I think Street Angel is one of them, and for the better, because despite it being her poorest selling album, despite not being always a fan favorite, there's also a crowd that it is a fan favorite, and it's a piece of Stevie Nicks' work, and so I think it deserves all the respect right alongside Wild Heart, Belladonna, and everything else. I was really excited when it came out. I was super excited and so into my collecting by 94. And so when I went to Tower Records, which is where I would go to check on every day to see if those singles had come in, because I was aware that some things were going to be coming out, the first thing that to be had were a 2 CD set. One of them was Maybe Love, and it was one CD. And again, I'll talk about it when I get to the CD singles. And then a second CD that was going to come out like a week or two later. But coming from the UK, it didn't always hit the States right on time. So I was at Tower Records every day, as often as possible, checking for that 2 CD set. And then I was able to find probably on... No, I got this at a record store in San Francisco near the Warfield, this weird little record store that I'd only ever been into once. Because every time I was in line to see a concert at the Warfield, my favorite venue ever to see a show, the store was always closed. And it was on Market Street, so it was really kind of a iffy location. So they always had like the grates and stuff, but I made it there one time and the single had been in the window. He had it for a while. And I think that's where I got this one. And was really happy to get it when I did. And so this, to my knowledge, was the only, still to this day, the only record that came out, 7-inch, my apologies, for Street Angel. There is nothing else. There's no this in another country. There's quite a bit of singles and CD singles, but for 45s or vinyl, this is the only thing that made it to vinyl until the last couple of years where we got the whole record on vinyl. There are no... I don't want to say something to be wrong now. I can't recall. I'm blanking out right now. I don't even think there's anything 12-inch wise. I know this, but I have a lot of stuff. So, and I'm talking about 45s right now, so let's forget all that. To my knowledge, this is it right now. So, there's the Maybe Love single. Fabulous cover. I want to say, yeah, this was Herbert Worthington's work. Which, again, sorry for all the stories, but again, making this multiple parts, both with the LP, the CDs, and when I get into the photography, or my scrapbook part, I have a whole story about this whole sitting and talking to Herbert Worthington about it, which is kind of a funny story unto itself. But this sitting, yeah, there's just a lot in my head about it. It was a remix version, as was the CD single, and it had a B-side of Inspiration, which is really amazing because we were super excited that there was a B-side, another song we hadn't heard, especially coming out from the album. And Stevie Nicks' Street Angel was released June 7th, 1994, and I don't know when this was released as a single because it was in the UK. So, Maybe Love, and not a promo or anything like that, back with Inspiration. And this is kind of, again, a little bit more of a difficult record to get. It's not rare, I would say. It's just a little lesser seen, and this one is in its mint shape. It's like I bought it yesterday. I'm just so proud of how I've kept it, and just remember getting it, just how excited I was, and just always keep it in its plastic. And you know, it's got a small little dent here, but which breaks my heart. Probably came that way. And but yeah, so that was for, yes. So, but what is interesting to me, and I knew this, but it kind of left my mind, came and went, because there's, again, so much to the single. But one of the songs on Stevie Nicks' Street Angel album was called Docklands, which happens to be one of my favorite songs. And it's, for every part of it that's very Stevie, there's an element of it that's completely not her. It just, she sings it like it's her own, but it's just a very different vibe. The lyrics mix with certain things that she said and some of her other stuff, but there's other parts that just really don't connect. I think it's a Stevie song. But I love it. I think it's one of the greatest songs on the album. And I came to find out that the song was recorded by a band in 1987 called the Mint Juleps, which ought to be looked up because they're a fascinating little band led by two ladies named Debbie, but it was a 5 or 6 piece ensemble with a very short-lived career, which is very unfortunate because they have a great sound. They also did not want to continue to be called the Mint Juleps, but they were, and they released the song Docklands in 1987. Ironically, the song was written by a lady named Betsy Cook in 87, or I want to say 1987. Mint Juleps actually released the song in 1988, but it was recorded in 1987. There is a 7-inch version of this, which I actually acquired this record store day 2013 and blew my mind, which I think is maybe when I discovered it. I might have known about it, but just one of those things that, I don't have it. It's not there. Probably never thought to look for it or anything like that. So it was pretty amazing when this came out. It is on a 12-inch that has been available for some years, pretty much, I think, since they released it. But, yeah, so this was pretty neat because this song, like I said, came out in 1987. So, right around the Tango on the Night time is when these ladies are making the song that Stevie Nicks would record in 1994. But the lady who wrote it in 1987 recorded it herself in 1992, 2 years before Stevie Nicks recorded it. And as the writer and composer of the song, putting it on her album, she released one album with a bunch of good songs, and people were praising the album left to right, and she went off into no man's land, complete obscurity. No more albums, no more music put out by her, which is unfortunate because I think both this version, which is very kind of slowed down, Betsy's version, and Stevie's version, which does not get good write-ups on both when you talk about them and they talk about Stevie, not themselves, but when it's mentioned that Stevie covered it, it's not said it's covered well, it's covered horribly. And when it's on Betsy Cook's bio stating that it got covered by Stevie Nicks in 1924, it also has no praise or niceties about it. When Stevie Nicks was getting write-ups for Street Angel, it was given a pretty good nod as to the whole of the album. I think it fared pretty well of all the songs. Listen to the Rain and Blue Denim were getting good, kudos, but I think Docklands was one of the kind of deeper cuts that was also getting a fair share of love. So when it came to Stevie or people reviewing Stevie's album, it seemed that fared okay. But when people talk about the Mint Juleps having done it, the originator having done it, and that Stevie Nicks recorded later, there's no love had. So this came out in 2013, and as a re-release by Stiff Records. This band had been with another label, but they worked with a label called Stiff for a short period of time. And they have a box set, and they're very short-lived, but they have a lot of singles. And I want to say the box set is the Stiff Years, and it's included on there. But as of 1987, there had been a 12-inch version because there had been a regular version, and then the B-side is a 12-inch version, so a little bit more of an extended release of the song. Not a whole bunch of difference, but enough to notice. A little bit more of a dance version, if you will. But it's an upbeat, very, I don't want to say very 80s. I don't think it's very 80s at all. It fits in the 80s, but it could fit in the 90s as well. Today, kinda. It would have this little niche somewhere. But I was real happy to get this. And I'd still like to get a hold of the 12-inch, which I might have by the time I do my reviews on those things, if I find it or come across it. But this is just really a little interesting thing, and I'm happy to have it to add to my 7-inch singles for Street Angel, being as there's so little in the way of 45s that came out for that. So, yeah, this one was I think Stevie, again, I'll talk more about it when I come to the album or the CD perhaps. But Docklands even made it into Stevie's set list for Street Angel, but was dropped pretty quickly on the tour in lieu of Rooms on Fire. Um, so people who got to hear Docklands, and I swear I was one of them, but could be mistaken. Memory's a little foggy from '94. This was a long time ago. Yeah, so there's that single. So after that, it gets kind of vague, kind of winding it up. There's not too much. Between that was pretty much it. This actually had been the last, almost the last Stevie single until more current, and we'll get to that. But kind of in between, again, a little side project, or I collect anything that has to do with Stevie. But this is kind of neat, and a lot of people will not love this, but it's well known that Hole released a version of Gold Dust Woman for the Crow soundtrack. And this came out, in 1996, June 11th, 1996. I've never been exactly sure how it was approached, or if Hole just said, hey, we'll give the song, maybe they were asked to sing on the soundtrack, pick a song, give us a song or something like that, and Courtney Love decided to redo Gold Dust Woman. I really never gotten that whole story, no pun intended. I love it. I love the version. A lot of people are not Courtney Love fans. That's fine. We can agree to disagree. I've been blessed to meet her, and she was a dream, the nicest person I could ever... honestly, I was a little surprised. I just kind of like, aside from Stevie Nicks, I'm more into like punk and new wave and alternative music. So I'm really a big fan of Hole in general. But this is one of the harder versions to find, and this is the deluxe gatefold version of the song. These are kind of pricey. They're not very rare, but a little pricey on the internet. $30 to $50 pricey, but and I want to say they're numbered. Yep. So there's that as well, and I understand. And this has, am I correct? 2 songs. Yeah, just 2 songs. So it's Hole's, and it's the album version. Hole's cover of Gold Dust Woman, backed with NY Loose, which I don't know what the heck happened to that band. And their song was called Spit. Lovely. But this is the inside, showing what would be the cover of the CD single for Gold Dust, one of them, because I believe this is also used as a paper sleeve or cardboard slip sleeve for the CD single of Gold Dust Woman, but on most of the UK, in a plastic tray single, I want to say that It's This Photo is used. I have quite a few versions of it on CD singles. I don't think it was a cassette single, but I could be wrong. But anyway, this is really a nice have. Whether you like the song or not, it's a cool addition to the collection as far as I'm concerned. It's got that image on the label as well, and shows only that Hole is on that side. And then, you just are told from what's in the thing who's on the B side. But I think it's kind of cool that it's just more focused on the fact that it's Hole and Gold Dust Woman. So that was a really cool find. And just, again, something. Around this time, also, there would have been Smashing Pumpkins' Landslide. I'm not sure that got issued on a 7-inch. Again, it could just be something I haven't picked up. If you've heard me say it once, I'll say it again. If I have roughly 400 thereabouts 45s, all related, that I've shown you over this time. Then I have probably about at least 200 more on my want list of things that I want and still would like to acquire, that I know of, that's out there on my Discog. So it could be that there is a Landslide for Smashing Pumpkins on 7-inch. And my apologies, it is 2 records. I thought there was. It just came out. I had it packaged funny inside my little sleeve. So one side is the Gold Dust Woman record with nothing on the other side, and then the other is the band, and then the B side just has the nothing and just the emblem, which is really neat. So yeah. Oh yeah, it's even etched. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I like things like this. And I think that's also why I wanted to have it. Is it, goes with the collection. It's just kind of neat. So there would be that. And then after that, we have a random one that kind of just, I think this came out during the dance. These were popping up a lot in used record stores. There's no date on them. There is a funny little label here, which it's a dumb long story, and my video is going too long. I apologize for such a short pile. I apologize. I'll wrap it up real quick soon. But I got a box of photos that I've talked about in the past, and in that box were a bunch of music label stickers and paperwork, blank, that would be put on boxes with either the 45 or the 12-inch, or maybe on reel-to-reels or 8-tracks. And I don't know what happened to those. And they were real colorful. They were like in pastels, like a green, a pink, and a yellow. And I'm confident it was this. A lot of them was this label. And it just DJM Records. And it's just weird. And I didn't know why it was in the box. It could be in my time of stupidity. Maybe I tossed it. I'm not that kind of person. I keep everything. But it's just really weird. And that was years before this would have come out. These started circulating around the time of the dance. And it was a promo only of Silver Springs. But it doesn't say from the dance. It just says Silver Springs, promo only. Its runtime, I want to say, is, which we'll get to in a second. Its runtime is 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and when we get to the single that I know of that got legitimately released, it's 4 minutes and 47 seconds. And then it's backed with a super early Fleetwood Mac tune, Man of the World. And like I said, they just started popping up. I found it and I'm like, well, I'm getting this. I mean, it's a no-brainer, promotional, not for sale. And then it's like, even though it's the band, it's like the lovely music. It's just, and then they just started showing up. I would see them all over the place for about 3 years. Kind of dried up now. Hardly ever see them anymore. I found them at a lot of used record store places, not new. This was never in a store in the new release section. It was in the used pile section. Always. Whenever I find or come across one. So, could be a bootleg. I don't know why. I don't know why they would. It just makes no sense to me why anybody would. Silver Springs was getting the love from the dance. So, if you're going to make a bootleg, you're going to try and promote it somewhere, get more people to find it, and I'll put it in the used section. And it was, I swear, this thing was like $1 or something. It could be that this came out in 1977 and I had just never seen it. But again, the collection that you've seen did not acquire overnight. It acquired over years of my searching, looking at catalogs, meeting people. Then the internet came along. So I had not seen this up until around the dance. So I have it with my dance items because Silver Springs appears to be the A side, even though that's not even put here, A or B. And that's when I found it. It was around 1997. So that was kind of a little oddity in my collection. But with the dance, it did come out in, as we know, 1997, August 19th, 1997. We do know that Silver Springs finally got its due credit. And again, the only 45 record to come out of the dance was Silver Springs. And this is from the USA. Again, I'm pretty sure there's not a UK version of 45. Could be on that want list, and I just haven't paid attention. It did make it onto a bazillion different versions on 12-inch, certainly CD single. Cassette singles kind of went by the wayside already. Those were very short-lived. But yeah, so this was a USA release that had come out, picture sleeve no less, which was huge because we hadn't seen a picture sleeve since Behind the Mask. We hadn't seen a picture sleeve with Fleetwood Mac as we knew it with Buckingham Nicks since Tango. So, you know, what, 8, 7, 9, 10 years. So it was kind of a big deal. And that picture captivated us for, I mean, who am I kidding, right? Do you remember when this came out? We just couldn't get enough of it. I still can't. I still pop it on and get chills remembering when this came out. The whole concert, start to finish. Fabulous. So this is backed, Silver Springs edit, backed with Go Your Own Way, from the dance. Get the live photo on the back. Pretty sure that there's, again, no other release on a 45 any other countries. I'm pretty sure about that. Again, could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. And then, again, to wrap this up, the next thing we have came out in 1998 due to Practical Magic soundtrack. Ironically, they decided to put If You Ever Did Believe back with Crystal onto a 45, which was phenomenal. This saw a couple CD singles, but on promos. There's no legit release. Might have to correct myself later, but pretty sure no legit release other than the soundtrack. With Crystal and If You Ever Did Believe. And this was straight up a 45 released in lieu of a proper cassette single or CD single. They released a 45, which is just really strange and kind of out of nowhere, really out of left field. So you had the CD with the songs on there, and then promo CDs with Crystal and If You Ever Did Believe, and then the odd little 45 that came out. So that was pretty special. So that was the last Stevie Nicks single that we would see up until 2024, when we saw The Lighthouse, which we're almost to. After that, in the, not really the correct order, but it's in the order of when it came out, this little single. I'm not a fan of keeping singles that came with box sets or anything else anywhere other than where they should be. Because I wanted to play this, I put it in with my singles, and at some point I'm the kind of fan who will get another copy of the box set so that I can have a single here in this pile and a single there in that pile, because that's the kind of person I am. But this came out with the Fleetwood Mac Live box set that was reissued in, I want to say 23 or 24, 23, 22, anyway. And this was the Fireflies. It came with the 45 inside, and it was Fireflies demo with One More Night demo. And both of these songs are, I can't get enough. And Farmer's Daughter, too. So, yeah, I wanted to keep this because I played the living crap out of it when it first came out. So, this should go with 1980, but it was released much later, certainly after 98, you know, obviously in the last couple of years. So, there's that. So that's why that's there. And then we're going to try and wrap this up at the 45-minute mark. This, I think, my longest video, and I'm so sorry. But as we all know, this just came out late last year. Stevie Nicks' anthem, Right in Time for Women's Rights. When people were looking to turn over the Roe versus Wade, Stevie Nicks had a lot to say. She got a lot of flack for this. I think this song is freaking brilliant. It's also supposed to usher in, to our knowledge, an album that we're hoping we might get. And it is The Lighthouse. backed with the Lighthouse and lovely white vinyl. It was issued on Record Store Day last year, Black Friday last year. And it's just the same on both sides. And white vinyl, but then it had a regular release thereafter. So again, a Stevie Nicks 45 in my collection after all these years. Something current. I mean, it was really kind of neat. I was hoping it too might get a 12-inch version, but it got a 45 and a CD single release. And hopefully it will be on an album, maybe perchance by the end of 2025, beginning of 2026. We all have our fingers crossed. Stevie Nicks keeps bringing it up that she's working on material. And I could only imagine that the song would also be included onto the new album. So that is it. That wraps up the entirety of my 45 collection. There could be a couple stragglers, but I think I've shown you everything, and it only took... This is part 24, so I don't count my pop-up videos. So 24 videos to show you, again, roughly somewhere in the 400 range. I haven't counted in quite a while. I have an Excel list because I'm a nerd, but then I put it all on Discogs and kind of quit counting. But I know that for a while I was well over the 400 mark for 45s and in the 300-ish mark for LPs, and even that's way out of date. I think I'm nearer to 400, and I want to say that 45s could be nearer to 450 by now, and no signs of stopping anytime soon. So thank you for hearing me out. Ironically, I didn't mean for it to go this long. It's just actually I kind of didn't realize till I got here that there's a lot more information on some of these little side pieces and stuff that I just thought would be interesting to talk about. So I really hope you enjoyed it. And again, I'm going to be starting off the LP selection. I've decided to forego my pre-Buckingham Nicks 45s, LPs, until a later date. And I'll talk about that when it gets to the LPs. I'm starting right out of the gate with Fritz and Buckingham Nicks before I go into the Fleetwood Mac White Album selection. So that'll be coming out soon. So thank you so much for listening to me. I'm sorry this was a longer video, but I do hope you enjoy it. And stick with me, please. I have so much more to show. So thanks again for joining me, and have a great night. Bye.